inside and outside the lines of the field and the walls of the stadium. We are people and planet champions.
Welcome to the People and Planet Champions podcast. I'm your host, Alex Meacham.
And I'm Roger McClendon.
And if you hadn't had a chance yet, go back and listen to our intro podcast. Now, for this episode, our special guest is A.Y. Young, the founder of the Battery Tour, the longest running clean energy powered concert series in the USA and worldwide. He is an entertainer who is using music to make an impact. I'd like to welcome in the first ever guest on the People.
Let's give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
Our guy, A.Y. Young.
What up? Yo, what up? I'm happy to be here, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Roger, is there anyone that you know that has more energy, no matter what time of day it is, than A.Y. Young?
No, AY is incredible. We said the amazing AY. And, I know he's been, from ups and downs all over the world, taking these flights, red eyes, the guy never stops smiling, never lets us down as far as the energy is concerned. And I've been on stage with him at the Roxy. This guy is amazing. Yeah. He's amazing for sure.
Now, quickly, AY, what city are you in? Because every time I turn on social media, it's like, where's A.Y. Young?
It's a different city, though. You know what I'm saying?
There used to be an app. Where's A.Y. Young?
That's mad crazy. I was just with this artist, K Styles, actually, and he was literally like, bro, what's the favorite place you've been in? And he's like a major artist signed with L.A. Reid, the major record label. So he thinks the same thing. Now I'm in Kansas City, man, the home of the Chiefs.
There you go, man. Well, hey, listen, let's go through the journey, man. It's been an amazing journey, and kind of let everyone know where you are from and how where you're from shape who you are today.
Yeah, well, I think where you're from always has a molding to, like, how the clay looks in the end, right? Now, whether the positive or negative things you use to empower you or to motivate you, or even sometimes people use it in a self-destructive way. But I am super blessed to be from Kansas City, Missouri, to be homeschooled, right? My mom homeschooled me and instilled so much in me about being myself and going after what I dream and believe about, and raising me kind of honestly very conservative Christian with a lot of values, instilled in me early. And we did things like grow our own food when no one was doing that. And when I was a kid, I don't know, when was that? In the late 90s, what I'm saying? Early 2000s, dog, 25 years ago. So I'm from that. I'm from like waking up and seeing the mayor, in my living room, you know what I mean? Or the chief of police. And I can remember, we had like, I think 3 drug houses, like crack houses on my block, no curbs and sidewalks, and my dad and my mom saying, hey, this is not how we should live, and began to activate the city. And I watched them. I was there going house by house, block by block, to bring Kansas City together to make it what you see it is now. So I've watched change happen, and I always tell people I'm like doing the same thing my parents did, but just not block by block, like city by city and country by country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something about family influence. You look at Roger McClendon and the amazing family that he has, and my parents had a huge impact on me. Talk to us a little bit about that family influence on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like Roger, we got similar backgrounds. Mm-hmm. Like his dad, and what he's done for his community and continues to do and has built. And I know he's a writer as well, author, all these different things. And so seeing who Roger is today, that makes sense. I'm like, wow. Another guy who's now using sports or use his position for a Fortune 100 company, or anything was Young Brands, right, that you worked for a period of time. And I don't know too much about your parents' situation, Alex, but I'm guessing you had some solid ones, man.
Absolutely.
I remember we talked about your dad not too long ago, and I pray for him too as well. So to answer your question, yeah, man, right? family. I'm just super blessed to have, have a great mom and dad that kind of showed me how to make change and to just do. They were doers, right? And I think that's kind of, now as I look back, I'm like, damn, there's a lot of similarities, right, Roger, probably between you and your
Absolutely.
dad. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely. It was nice when we first met, and we had time to go back to your family's farm, and I knew, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta see this. I gotta see it and meet them, and to tell them, how much I appreciate what they've done to raise you and instill those values, because you inspire a lot of people. And it's very similar to Alex Meacham's dad and his mom. And so bringing like-minded people together for the struggle, is what gets me excited. But yeah, I definitely, I'm excited about where your journey's headed.
And one thing I want to add on to that, Roger, is you know, mothers and fathers have such a huge impact on their children, and some parents want their children to do exactly what they do, right? So I've got a friend, and I had to have a conversation
Yep.
with a friend, AY, and he's a dentist, and he wanted his son to be a dentist. And I had to talk to the dad and go, your son doesn't want to be a dentist. Your job is to show him how great of a dentist you are and let him be great in whatever space he's in. And for you, AY, much like Billie Eilish and her mother Maggie and father, they homeschooled her and Phineas. But they
Oh,
allowed
fact, they sure did homeschool him. Yeah, see, a lot of people don't know Billie Eilish was
Susan.
homeschooled.
But here's the key to that, AY. They wanted them to be their own people and grow the way they can grow. And it sounds like your mother and father said, you know what?
Mm-mm.
AY, if this is the way you want to go do your thing that way. And we're going to support you.
I'll say this though, I also learned a lot of skills, and I do think that, yeah, parents may want you to go a certain direction. My dad had a construction company. I know, as I'm getting older and this is as a man, growing as a man, that it would have made my dad a lot of pride, and it would have been cool if we really, because I got two other brothers, you know, drove that forward a little bit more. But their interests were different places. But he did do it in a way where he taught me a lot of life skills doing construction, you know, modeling, remodeling, home repair, all these different things. I really lean toward business. And so even though I know, my dad wanted me probably to go that route, there was a thought of that. He also made sure the door is open for everything. Sports, it was open for what I wanted creatively. And I do respect him for that, instead of just really forcing me into the family business that way. He left those doors open and allowed us to just experiment and find and hold on to what, to do what we love to do. And but always pushing and demanding to give everything your all no matter what you do. You know what I mean? So I always tell people too, it's like, yeah, you can want to be a ballerina, you can want to do whatever, but you need to put in that 10,000 hours. You need to be great at it,
Yeah.
right? And so, I think my parents challenged me to do that. So I'm watching them, change Kansas City and bring curbs and sidewalks and development. It's the whole reason why we got the T-Mobile Center, and half the reason why the city. I mean, my dad's in the museum of Kansas City. Like, he's literally that like big of an impact. Built the model nonprofit like NGO for so many around the world, Ivanhoe neighborhood. So I watched that. I was taught construction and working with my hands and learning a trade, and then I was homeschooled, free thinking, free mind. Go at your own pace, go faster, go slower if you need to, right, and learn things outside. So many times my mom would take me we would have library days. We just go straight to the library and do school there. I read books, 10 to 20s of books, right? Or we just we would meet at the museum all day, or this place or that place. Or if our mind was thinking about this or that, she would center curriculum around it or program around it. It was really actually super beautiful. The crazy thing, y'all, is like when I eventually did go to school. I went my junior and senior year and graduated at Lincoln and then went to college. I played at UMKC, but I learned everything from the book side. Homeschooling, I never studied one day, 1 hour, never did. I knew it all when I got there. It was like a cheat code.
Yeah. And that's actually a great segue. And I want to pass the rock to Roger McClendon to kind of take this. But AY, we got to talk about your hoop game, Raj. You want
Yeah,
to?
no, yeah,
we got
you
he
know,
the smoothest hooper here, dog. I don't know if I was on this
but
level.
I wanted to know about that Gonzaga thing, man. Tell us about your background on the hoop side, because I think most ballers want to be rappers, and then rappers want to be ballers
Ain't
and
that
musicians.
crazy?
You know what I'm saying? But you got the combination of both already. So just tell us a little bit how you looked at sports and leveraging that, and then how you got it really into this other passion of music.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing was sports, man. I could have went to school playing football. I was always chasing Kobe Bryant. I don't know who did you look up to, Roger, as a hooper?
You know, it was two things. My first love was baseball. So Roberto Clemente
Oh,
is
he's
where I got
baseball.
the number 21. So I was a shortstop and pitcher, and that was my first love.
Crazy.
And then as I was going into high school, I was on the field, and I heard the basketball bouncing in the background. And I kept hearing the basketball bouncing in the background. I said, I got to probably focus on one sport to really take it as far as I could go.
Facts.
And I shifted into basketball. And, my favorite player was, none other than Julius Irving, Dr. J.
Oh, Irving. Whoa.
And then
Legend, dog. You were smooth.
little bit of Iceman, because he had all the moves, and so those were my two guys kind of watching, coming up. Yeah.
And you hoop too, right, Alex?
Yep. I was at the University of Cincinnati, and I grew up watching the GOAT, Michael Jordan, and I always say Roger McClendon obviously was a big influence of mine on the basketball court, growing up watching him play. So I would say Jordan and Roger.
I appreciate that.
I'll
send a check. I'll send
highest
a check.
compliment.
Yeah, I'll send a check to us.
Venmo me that money, Roger.
Yo.
So AY, AY. Okay, you at your prime versus Roger McClendon in his prime.
I know.
Who wins and who? Who wins?
Here's the thing about it though, is they would have put me on him. I would have guarded him.
Yeah, he was a defensive man. That's what remember you telling me that. You were the guy to stop the other guy from scoring.
100%. I wasn't, I was exactly that, but a little nuance. It's like how I am in real life, right? Like I'm like a little bit of everything, but a lot of something. It's like typically defenders like that can't score, right? They can't put up really points. I could put. I'm like a 14, 18 point player. You know what I mean? And a good defender. So I would have guarded him and tried to shut this dude down. And then,
wait. Could you have shut him down, AY?
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. We do different time periods. But from what I heard, this dude was nice. Got that mid range. He got a couple. Here's what I would have did. I would have frustrated him. I think I would have frustrated him.
AY, let me ask this question just to help answer it. Have you ever in your basketball career guarded a player that went on to be a McDonald's All-American?
Oh yeah, well in Gonzaga, I was multiple times matched up with their McDonald's All-American. I forget his name. He's a white boy, real nice. I think Connor Tien was one too. A lot of my friends, a couple of my friends are still in the league. I think so. So I have had some experience with McDonald's All-Americans. You know what I mean?
Roger won.
And future NBA players or D League players, like Jay Cousy or the homie Bakari Lewis, or there's a lot of guys, man. And I come from Kansas City too, so Anthony Peeler or Marcus Demi or what's his name, who was hooping for I can start naming hoopers. It's been a minute since the Lloyd brothers, the Rush brothers. Went to the school that I almost went to, Pembroke Hill, the Rush brothers. So Brandon Rush, Kareem Rush, right? So I grew up playing guys like that. You know what I'm saying? And in Kansas City. So yeah. I think I can handle Roger, but in the sense of defensively, I'm not. He probably still gonna get his 20, 25 though. I mean, I'm gonna give you 20. You know what I'm saying? But he's gonna be really frustrated and thrown off.
Yeah,
I love it. I love the confidence, AY. I love it.
that's Roger's way of saying bro.
He like, nah, I love the confidence. Yeah, I know.
I love the confidence.
So as you transition, you had basketball, you had this opportunity to go to take it further, Division I level. And then tell us how you transitioned from basketball to really coming to love with music. How did you manage that transition?
Yeah. Well, I put a lot of thought into the transition of sports to music, because I came from ball, so I came from like 500 shots in the morning, 500 at night, right, kind of thing, and putting that 10,000 hours in, and so I knew whatever I wanted to do in life, I needed to really put everything into it. I've always been an everything or nothing person, and so I just can remember when I started to get the feeling that it wasn't going to be ball because I always had this like weird. I know some people say it's. I feel like I'm like one of those what are they, the Universes or whatever they say. I just want to change the world, but I always had this feeling that I was supposed to change the world, and I started looking at basketball like, dang man, it's like at the end of the day I can keep going this route, right? Worst case scenario, I go overseas, I find an agent, you know what I mean, represent me. I'm still gonna have to spend like 10 12 hours a day in the gym, you know what I mean, and even if I'm making millions, it doesn't really matter until I retire. Like I feel like I wouldn't be able to make a big enough change until I retired as a player because players are very busy. We see it with Chris Paul, right, who was on the board of the Green Sports Alliance. They have this really finite window. They can do a few things, go to a couple of things, and then season starts. Sorry, I'm in. And it's like that on their playing year. So I was like, man, this is not. I just didn't think putting the ball in the hoop was really how it's going to change the world. You know what I mean? So that's when I was like, okay, it's music, but I can't be like 99% of these artists that are like, oh, hey, mom, I'm going to do music. I don't know how I'm going to, right? So, this is what I tell artists all the time. I tell people this all the time in general is you've got to start understanding what a hobby is, what a part-time job is, and what a full-time job is. And I wanted my music to be a full-time job, right? So I kind of put together an understanding of how to get to the path of revenue. How many years would that take? What kind of sacrifice did it take to get to revenue? What does it look like to take revenue from what I would call a part-time, or take this thing out of a hobby? Because music's a hobby in the beginning. All this stuff is hobby in the beginning. Do you make money? Then is it a part-time job or a full-time? So I went through this kind of whole timeline and trajectory of like how I could do it. And it's really what landed me on the Battery Tour and why I started doing 10-hour performances every day, because I didn't really see another route. I always talk about how in America, if you worked at McDonald's, you got to work a 4-hour shift. You know what I'm saying? Like if you work at McDonald's, you can't be like 30 minutes, I'm out, peace. Like what?
Right.
45 minutes, like that doesn't work. You gotta at least do 4 hours. So for me, I'm like, I have a full-time job. That's like 8 hours. So I'm gonna perform that long, right? Because that's a full-time job. So yeah, we can get into the Barry Tour and how I started, but it was like after I figured everything out from like a timeline, path to revenue, be realistic with business, understanding the business. Like artists come to me all the time. Oh man, AY, how'd you open up for Wiz Khalifa? How'd you do this with Shaggy? And I'll be like, hey, do you know what a booking agent is? And they have no idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like going to a construction work and they're like, oh man, my dream. Oh, I just want to be a roofer. And I'm like, hey, have you heard of D-Walk? And they don't know. So there is some due diligence on our end for our dreams and goals that we need to do to understand the infrastructure. So I did all that work, and then I started.
So let me ask another follow-up question, and this is, on your transition in your road to putting the 10,000 hours in, because we know that's what makes you a master, right? Reading the books and what you have to dedicate, the work ethic. But talk about the influences in your life, and I know this is a tough subject, but your brother and AJ and how you guys were working together and part of your inspiration and your dreams together, and some of the things you guys did together and how he still propels you today to move forward.
Yeah, my brother AJ. Yeah, rest in peace. That was a dude, man. So yeah, man. I mean, this is cool. It's cool to talk the actual music because I always give the highlights of the story and you do the milestones, but what actually got me there. My brother's what got me started on music. He was dope, man. Yeah, L.A. Reid called him the Black John Mayer, Alex. Like it was like when AJ was 16, he was as good as like John Mayer when John was like at the time 30 something. He even won the John Mayer contest like back in 2000 whatever. So black dude with dress, plays the guitar, phenom. Like I remember early on. So I think this is another reason why serving is how you can become the best leader and the best person, right? I think the best leaders are ones that spent time serving, you know. And so, I can remember trying to be the best I could be at whatever I could be to be useful, whether it's holding the camera for my brother, or I was always behind the scenes. So I was in the studio when like he was working on, like Disturbia for Rihanna, you know what I'm saying, with Brian Kennedy and his camp, or the song Forever, or the Kelly Clarkson records that broke out that, got Brian Kennedy his records. Like I was there with these musicians that are playing for Justin Bieber now, or working with the biggest artists in the world. And I was behind the scenes, shooting or whatever, doing this or waiting for my chance to do my rap part or whatever. But ultimately, man, even going back to how I started music, it was because AJ was playing the guitar, and I always did poetry. You know what I mean? I would like write about what I saw. And like, I think the first song I ever made, I was talking about the disparity in Kansas City, because it's crazy in Kansas City. Like you can be in the hood where I live, right? People, crack houses, whatever. 5 minutes down the block, you're at the Country Club Plaza.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, and this is a real thing. It's called the truth divide. Like you can look it up. Like they purposely put blacks in a certain part and like walled it off. We couldn't even get jobs somewhere else. So I remember writing like, ain't it funny how you can be in the hood one minute, drive a couple of blocks, just like a chameleon hit it. Color stays same, but the race to change. It turned into a song called "Six in Your Pocket." But so my mom was so conservative in the sense of I didn't even really know what rap music was, bro. Growing up, because she only let us listen to like, man, I'm not gonna. The term's not godly music. It's this secular music. I couldn't listen to secular music, really. So I'm a late bloomer with music.
Yeah. Wow.
And I've been really eating it. But yeah, so I just remember AJ was playing something on the guitar, and I was like talking my lyrics to it, and that's, I guess, how I discovered rap or whatever, because I was never really allowed to listen to it. Everything moved really fast. Fast forward, we land on a TV show called The X Factor. That's how I met Britney Spears, Demi Lovato, L.A. Reid, Simon Cowell, and that was my first taste of the business. We got 4 yeses, and I got to see the business side of music. And now as I look back, I'm like, oh my God, these were the building blocks that have built the world's longest running, clean energy tour, or even now this mission that we're on now, where we can bring these solutions to the world independently. I used to hate, in a way, my past in some ways. If you look back and like, oh man, but I didn't get this, or I didn't get that, or I didn't get signed here, I didn't get signed there. But those were all blessings, that enabled me to learn and grow. So I'll stop there. But
no, I appreciate you sharing. I know I appreciate you sharing that. I think the audience would appreciate that too. And thank you for that. But I'll pass it to Alex. I know you might have some additional questions too, Alex, as it kind of stimulates what you're thinking, because I know music has been a part of, some of your relationships and contacts too. And obviously we were there together, having a chance to meet with some of Bruno Mars people. So they go together. I mean, when you think about sports, music, and fashion, they really go together. And so let's switch. We got you started, that Battery Tour starting to merge in your mind, but then you get called up after doing so many shows by the United Nations. So how does that happen? How do you become the youth ambassador, the only one in the United States to be the UN youth ambassador? Talk about that.
Right. Well, I didn't set out to be that too. And, it's interesting, like in life, you hear this from leaders or some people that became something. They never really, it doesn't seem like they set out to gain that power to do that thing. It was almost like they set out to fix a problem or an issue, and then were put into this like position and accepted the responsibility. And so in the beginning, I was just trying to fix this issue of like, okay, I got out this TV show, X Factor. I'm trying to open up for major artists, and they're telling me no, right? Well, you don't have enough followers, or how many tickets has your last tour sold out?
Yeah.
It's like none. I just got off a TV show. What are you talking about? I'm talking to you to open up for Justin Bieber or whatever, right?
Right.
And so that's when I was hit with that thing. It was like, okay, well, I could keep asking permission to do my passion and perform. hey, sir, can I play on your stage? Can I do right? Because ultimately, that's what the music business is. An artist, you're waiting for somebody guy to tell you, oh yeah, you can play on our stage, right? You get you. So I was like, well, how do I power a concert anywhere? Right? Anywhere. And of course, I didn't want to destroy the world too. So there was that option because you can always just buy a generator, right? Easily. Let me just buy this mug, put some gas in it, show. But I didn't want to make a bunch of noise, whatever. So that kind of landed me into this innovation of battery tour, doing these 10-hour shows because I believe in 10,000 hours and I wanted to be my full-time job. There was a eureka moment because I was bringing together all ages and demographics, all races, kind of what we are now, what the Barry Tour is. Because I do some Michael Jackson, I do some Beatles, I do some AY originals, I do some Lumineers. I will perform all these things, right, to bring people together and to bring them in because wow, they know this Bruno Mars track and that can give them AY, right? And people started donating. Oh man, we love what you're doing, bro. We're your outlet. We power the tour. Oh, that was like my first moment of like, oh my God, Eureka moment where I was like, oh my God, you're right. You're an outlet. He's an outlet. Everyone in the world is an outlet for change, right? And plugged into each other, on a local level, on the community level, on the national level, I think we can change the world. So whoever's listening or watching this podcast, this People and Planet podcast, I truly believe that. So I started taking that donation money and go from city to city and state to state to use music as the way to get the world outlets, right, plugged in. So it was step by step. This is over a period of years. It's like I didn't just like start. It was like 300 shows later of me taking the donation money from these outlets and doing 300 shows. I'm sleeping in my car and then I'm Googling because I got power to do a concert, but the city I'm in doesn't have grid power. Crazy. And I'm like, why? Right? Oh, 1 billion people don't have energy. Well, now I need to use my passion. That's when I was like looking at this and I can do Netflix, but they can't even, use electricity. So that's when I was like, oh, that's the moment that the Barry Tour, that's my second Eureka moment. First Eureka moment was everyone's outlet. Second one, I'm sleeping in the car, living in the car, doing shows, about show 300, and 1 billion people don't have energy, right? So then I go, okay, I got to flip the script. We got to use Battery Tour as a way to fund, promote, develop, and deploy solar energy, battery, food, water to people that need it. So that's when I flipped and kind of created this music for impact model that is really what the Battery Tour is now, right? So, I guess that's how I got the call. After I think I was coming back from Honduras, we had probably got energy to about 18 or so countries at that time. And we were probably around show 817. So that means I did another 500 shows before the UN called. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they were telling me about these goals, and here I am, young leader.
So explain to us, AY, and for those that are listening, what is Project 17?
Yeah, what is Project 17? Well, I think first we need to understand what are the global goals. What is that? When the Secretary General was telling me about these 17 goals, I was like, more people know Lil Wayne. I literally told him, bro, more people literally know when Kim Kardashian posts or Kanye says something. Shoot, that dude goes viral. Now we got these Twitchers and stuff like Kai Cenat and everything blowing up. But there are these 17 things that the UN and all these countries, right, came together and say, hey, we got to do this by 2030. We got to give people food, water, power, energy, all these things. And I was giving people energy, which is actually goal 7. Everyone should have access to clean energy, right? And so when they call me, they're like, you're achieving goal 7 and goal 13, climate action. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I had no idea. So, when I looked at the goals, it took me 30 seconds. I was like, music for impact. I'll make a song for each goal. Project 17, I'll make one song for each goal, each song with a major artist that cares about the goal, whether it's gender equality or climate action or this or that. Or, then I'll line up a sponsor because music costs money. And so I'm going to need some money so the record label doesn't own all this, and I don't take a loan. I need a corporation that cares about that goal to pay me enough money so I can make the music, so I can own it, so I can give it to implementation partners, music for impact, right? NGOs, organizations in general that give people the food, the water, the power, the whatever, right? Made it in me. So I made that in like 30. So that's Project 17. It's really music for impact, one song for each goal to drive direct funding to organizations that do the work so people have food, water, and power by 2030. It's really that simple, dude.
Yeah. Tell us too the connection with Green Sports Alliance in Roger. How'd that happen?
Yo, Raj, how did that happen, man?
Man, that was magical. We connected obviously for last year and we were able to leverage your stardom and your passion and your vision to really connect music and sports. I had already been thinking about it. Scott Jenkins, who is our board chair and one of the founders of the Green Sports Alliance, always had the vision to bring music into our platform at the Green Sports Alliance. And as I took on the role, COVID happened and things, we got distracted. We hadn't really figured that out. And then by the grace of God, I mean, boom, AY Young, shows up on our stage as that, as the one, Neo, as the one, and really because, when I knew you were the one was when I met your parents. That's when I knew you were the one, because we're looking at others, obviously you were before Billie Eilish, obviously you were before Coldplay. And when we really start to search and look at your background and really your true reason, your cause and why, even though it's evolved, you were born and meant to do what you're doing. I mean, you're the one. And so now what I'm doing is like bringing resources and support to help us bring that to life and help you realize that vision, because it will change so many people's lives. So I'm a true believer, I'm a supporter, really respect what you're doing. And yeah, it's a tough journey. We all know it ain't going to be easy, but that's one of the reasons I went to the University of Cincinnati too, was really build the program.
Shout out to Cincinnati.
Absolutely. Build us back on top. But now, so as you have seen the UN come to realize you are the one and make you the only UN youth leader to represent the SDGs with Project 17, your creation. Now, where do we take that to the next level? Leveraging the power of sports. Talk about, in a general way, the business model and some of your partners like the Wizard and Neef and others, Muhammad Ali. Like, how are you bringing everybody together under that Project 17 umbrella?
Yeah, I'd say, we've unlocked a way to get everyone to plug in, every facet of humanity, and it's been beautiful. I got my title as a young leader in 2020, and now I guess as you asked me that, and I reflect over the last 5 years, it's been some real capacity building, and I think the road to 1,000, this journey that we're on, we're at 960 shows with Clean Energy, right? Wow. 960. And so between now and hitting 1,000, the next 40 shows, I think, are really the catalysts that are, enabling us to kind of connect, engage, and activate partners that do the work all over the U.S. and the world. And those are partners like the National Wildlife Federation. Those are partners like NEAF and Green Sports Alliance that does so much great work, not only on the sustainability side, but also on the implementation side on the ground and outside the lines of the field. Or Faraday Foundation. I can go on and on with organizations that get people food, water, and power. And so, what I really like about the Battery Tour, it's always been music for impact. The road to 1,000, these next 40 kind of high-profile mass media shows are opportunities that we can bring leaders together through our conference and summits, which are co-led, co-curated by the Green Sports Alliance, which has been a pro at doing that forever, right? Doing these conferences and stuff like that. And then you've got the concert. At the end of the day, music is the universal language. Music is what connects to the youth and the kid. I think that's why the Secretary General put me in this position for the U.S. The U.S. is very unplugged. I think we're the worst in terms of the world as far as knowledge of these goals. That's like I said, if I ask about Kendrick Lamar, everybody between here and they sing in the song. If I say, do you know about gender equality? Not really. They may know, well, this means this, I think. They're not plugged in. And I think that music and sports is culture. It's interesting, Roger, and then I'll turn it back over to you guys, Alex, because as you're talking, I'm starting to reflect on me in a little bit, like because it's been a long time since I don't do too many interviews anymore. Heads down, making this stuff happen. I haven't been as out as I normally am, which is like every day, out. But I was thinking about a word like DNA, because I'm looking at the StreamYard here, and if there's any viewers paying attention today or whatever, we've been talking so much about the journey, my sustainability journey. If you were to ask Billie Eilish, or if you were to ask Coldplay or Massive Attack, or some of these names in the music industry, their journey's pretty short. It's not in their DNA. Like Billie Eilish's story, you can go check it out on Apple right now. It doesn't involve sustainability. She didn't come from this, right? Coldplay started doing this a year and a half ago when I was at show 845. Massive Attack just did their first show ever, in 2024. You know what I mean? When I was at 910. And I'm realizing that not only is sports my DNA, so I'm not acting, I'm not trying to do this. I am an athlete. I've always been. But sustainability is in my DNA. This is not something I'm doing because it's the right thing kind of thing. At the same, it is what I am. I actually think that's why this is so authentic and genuine, and people are able to plug into this movement, and that's the differentiator from all of these other people out here that are beginning to bring music and sports together, because the inspiration has been present, right? Or people that are deciding to do more sustainability in their music because maybe there was a guy out here knocking on the door for 12, 13 years and was being told no. So it's a part of me. It is who I am. It's not even, this is not me trying. I got a solar battery right here up under my studio. Been using that for like 14 years to rock this thing out. So it is what it is,
Yeah, that's why I'm so bought in, and that's why the Green Sports Alliance Foundation and the Trade Org are super behind you. And Alex, again, the same way with his, work ethic and, just his commitment to, the community and the people that he supports, that youth, So that's why I was surrounding my people like that. I mean, I'm just inspired by both of you. Absolutely. And so I
Roger be orchestrating
from sun up to sundown. But now it's like, now we got to use that power, right? And so now we got to get serious about like the competition, because it's somewhat of a competition.
Yeah.
But if we can get everybody to emulate you, we actually win, because we want to bring more competitors in the space. Like we want the Billie Eilish to grow, we want the Coldplay to grow, we want National Attack. But at the same time, as you develop your own platform and your own business model, we know you're the founder of the Battery Tour and of this concept of leveraging batteries to power concerts. You were the original. So I definitely want that story to shine. So tell us about your future vision, like on your way to 1,000, and what's going to happen, this year, visionary, what's going to happen, and then how do you take that to the road to 1,000?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this year we're already in it. It was to bring it to the people, right? Another thing about the sustainability world, how long has green sports been around, by the way?
Almost 15 years.
15 years. Green Sports Alliance has been doing this for 15 years, trying to bring the sports world together. And I would say the average athlete even may not, like the average major athlete may not know, may or may not
never
know.
heard of it.
Right?
Absolutely.
Never. I mean, I know from just doing the Phoenix halftime show that KD didn't know, Kevin Durant didn't know, about the green. Now he knows. We about to make sure everybody knows. And I say that to say this is not a green sports issue. This is, the UN. This is the UNDP. This is all these sustainability organizations that you'll meet at a climate week, which people don't even know what that is, or a Davos, or a COP conference of parties, which half the people don't know what that is. They know Coachella. They were just at it. Coachella went viral, guys, last week. You probably know about Coachella. You know what I mean? And y'all don't even go to festivals. But, if we start telling about, the conference of parties, which is the thing that people, to come together and really change the world and save the planet, people don't know. That's an issue. And it's I'm not a fan of what I call like the church choir. And what am I saying when I say church choir? I mean, sometimes the analogy is sometimes in that like religious piece or whatever. I'm not trying to speak on religion, but you end up speaking to people who are believers, right? Like a lot of times in our work in general, we will speak to people that are believers, and we won't get outside of that echo chamber and speak to the people who aren't the believers or might not know about it to bring them in. So that's what this year is with the Road to 1,000, with the Battery Tour. We know we sold out the Roxy Theater in LA. That's one of the most legendary venues.
Yep.
Period. That's
Yep.
where Adele's from. That's where Guns N' Roses got their start. And I got my start there by doing Clean Energy there.
Yep.
We just did the Phoenix halftime show, 17,000 people in the NBA. There's a lot of NBA teams. 17,000 people saw that. And I kicked off a really big event in Times Square before all this with Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Matt Damon, on and on, where we reached like 1 billion people with what we're doing. So what's the plan is to get you guys, whoever's watching, plugged in over the next 40 shows, right? We got 40 shows to plug in all these outlets for change, all these youth, all these people, all these organizations, plug you guys in. So by show 1,000, we can launch what I believe that will be the biggest impact or music impact project of all time. And that would be beating out like the We Are the World or the Farm Aids that raised 86 million for one concert but didn't have music attached to it, right? Or even the Global Citizens that claim they make $1 billion in a concert every year, which they do that there. And there's so many music for impact kind of concerts or programs. And I think this one has the Project 17 has the capacity or the ability or the chance to be the biggest the world's ever seen, because it's 17 different issues. You can break down We Are the World and be like, okay, that may fall into goal 1, right? So that's goal 1. But there's still 16 other goals that would have artists and organizations like the Green Sports that do the work, and athletes and actors and influencers. And I think it's bigger. And I think we can do that. But we've got to get whoever's listening, more organizations, people plugged in to the Battery Tour. And that's what the Road to 1,000, I hope, achieves.
Yeah. AY, speak upon you've got these shows that are left to get to 1,000. How do you and your team strategically plan out what shows you do, and what does that last show, that 1,000, look like?
Yeah, so it's been tough strategically doing it without the industry behind it. Mm-hmm. We're similar to like Strange Music. If you guys know Strange Music,
Tech N9.
Right? Tech N9 is the homie. He's actually on Project 17. That's my dude. Mm-hmm. He was like the first artist to get on. I had to get the independent, but Tech N9 is independent. So if you're listening, it's like he's independent. He is not, signed to a major record label. And so if I was signed to a major label or one of these major, kind of promotional companies, if we were fortunate enough to be working with them at this time, which we are not, but one day maybe we would, and I would love to see that. Your Live Nations, your OVGs, mm-hmm. That they own a lot of venues, and they can make tours happen like this. So I'm glad you said, well, how are you strategically doing it? Because we're strategically doing it without those big entities saying, okay, let's just put the Battery Tour in these 15 places and call it a day, right? We're having to internally, make phone calls, emails, organize, secure a venue, try to foster relationships with potential investors that believe in the model, can see the profit piece too, in terms of putting on a concert, selling tickets, selling merchandise, and can see a reason to maybe put some money in and help us to then do a show, right? And ultimately do something new and different. The Battery Tour is awesome. It's an amazing, it's tech, right? Incredible technology. It's clean energy. It's a concert tour. It's a great experience. It's affiliate marketing. It's reaching people. And so strategically, we're getting people excited, to be a part of one show at a time. Right now, we've got Denver coming up. We're working on finalizing the date and the artist, but we know that will be our next like Battery Tour Road to 1,000 show. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, each concert, it builds on the other. We sold out the Roxy and did well with a band called Lime Cordial. This Denver, show is 6,500 seater. So taking the next step, right, and building on that. So we're doing it one step at a time. We're open to collaborate, and I think people are seeing the vision.
Yeah. Yeah. That 1,000 show, that's the world record?
Yeah, so when I hit 1,000, I mean, low key, bro, I already probably got the world record. I mean, do you know someone with 960? But 1,000 to me is a moment.
Mhm.
It's funny because I think Roger's heard me say this at concerts. I'd be like, life's about moments. So a lot of times I say that before I get people to like wave their hands on goal 7 or something like that. But it's about moments. Like too many people in this movement, too many people in general, too many companies and startups are always trying to like foster and create a movement. You know what I mean? Like I've never tried. Like it's mad crazy because you could literally say I have a movement with the Scouts, the boys, the Scouting America, because I am an Eagle Scout
Mm.
and my project was Battery Tour, and the Scouts really connect to me. But it's just completely authentic and genuine. Like I'm not trying. I'm not trying to be who I am. So with Show 1,000, I think it is just indistinctively a moment. It's 1,000 concerts on clean energy. We don't have to hype this with a bunch of PR press and say that it is what it is. It's a moment to bring everyone together, just like we've been doing for 960 shows, but to bring the Al Gores, maybe the Bill Clintons and the Bill Gates and the government leaders and the mayors and the whatever and the athletes and the actors. And to me, it's a moment for a generation. So to me, I see like OGs like Pearl Jam and Jack Johnson, right? Whether they're performing or not, maybe they're just saying some words about how great it is that this was achieved and that it's possible, right? I see the movie space, the film space, that economy, like the Netflixes and the Google and the Disneys, presenting something or being a part of it because they're driving towards clean energy in their productions. I see a Billie Eilish maybe performing a song or just showing up because she cares too, right? It's a moment. So Show 1,000 is that moment. Live stream to the world, to mass media. Maybe we get a live stream partner. We don't have that yet, but maybe a YouTube or a Netflix or whatever. And it's a moment to bring these solutions and these organizations to mass media, right, through this accomplishment. That's what 1,000 is. I think it will be done in an arena, and it will be a collaborative moment that leads into an even bigger set of moments, and that's Project 17.
I need to speak on a moment real quick. AY, you don't remember this. I don't think you remember this, but the first time we met, you don't remember it, do you?
Nah, you got. Wait. Roger introduced me to you though.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes. Do you remember? So AY, I'm big on. I remember where I first met everyone. Like that's
fire.
Superpowers.
That's dope, bro.
And so here's the thing. You and I met at crypto.com pre the event, what was it, the summit, the gathering we had, Roger.
Yeah, you was there in the main room where Chris Paul was at and stuff. Yeah.
And when you walked in and I was introduced to you, the one thing that struck me was your energy and your passion. Right. And it's funny because you posted that video on your social media of you going up and talking to Kevin Durant, to KD. I did the same thing KD did and I laughed when I watched the video. And he looked at you. He looked you up and down. He was looking at your outfit. Bro, I did the same thing. And I was like, yo, this guy is comfortable in his space, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I did the same thing, KD. I was like, yo, the guy, and I respect that, but I took away, man, was that energy, right? And I just had a great vibe, about you as a person when I first met you. And a lot of times, why you meet so many people on your journey, and Roger knows a ton of people, and sometimes, man, that first meeting of a person is so important, man. I just want to pass that along to you, man. I'll never forget that first time that I met you and that energy that you gave me.
Likewise, brother. Like, and I can think of even the second and third time we actually spent a little bit more time talking. And I was just like, I'm all in on supporting this dude and like what your mission is and what you're doing in schools, bro. What you're doing in schools. It's incredible.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Love it. This is a great vibe. And taking us all the way through your journey where Project 17 actually launches and we're moving toward those 2030 goals is inspirational and something that, we're bought into. So I'm glad you were able to share it with the people out there, because we want everybody to engage and, follow up with us, give us an opportunity to connect. You got to, and one of those 17 have to be one of your passions. You got a lot to choose from. So go do your homework on the SDGs and the 17 development goals.
100%.
And before we get off of this, AY, I always want to kind of end our podcast with folks with quick questions and quick answers. I have 3 for you. Are you ready?
So let's hit it.
First question. Favorite sneaker of all time?
I mean, anything Kobe, Mamba.
That's your guy.
Yeah, still is.
Any Kobe shirt. Okay, gotcha. Most famous person you ever met?
But on the first question, I also have to say I love lottos, but they don't exist anymore.
No, those the lottos.
Yeah, I mean, dancing when I go to the second question.
We're gonna stick with that Kobe.
I gotta get how much of the king.
Most famous person you ever met, and also attach that a high level person you met and you walked away like, man, that was a super dope person.
High level, I met the last couple of presidents. I had one-on-one with Biden.
Wow.
Yeah. Typically each, well, at least since I've been a young leader. He was cool. He was cool. Seemed a little, I think he was tired that day, but he was cool. That's how I'll say it.
He was tired that day. I think he was tired. Tired a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, because we meet a lot of celebrities, so I just want to get you always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Depending on how you. I think another high level. Another high level guy that was pretty cool. Like, I mean, there's so many. If you're talking government, there's just so many, homie. I was thinking for some reason Al Gore keeps coming to mind because we keep meeting each other, and every time we meet, we build on the last story of things I told him I'm gonna do, and I just do it. You know what I mean? So it's always fun when you have those of you tell them you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it. In terms of the most famous person, met a lot of people, man. Peter Gabriel's pretty famous, and he's like a friend though. So we do talk very regularly. But I think Ye is more famous. And so at least in the last 2 years, I'm gonna say probably the most famous is actually Ye, bro, because that dude seems to be so famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So he ran up on me at the Grammys and was like, "Yo, man, you're the battery guy or whatever." And he put his number in my phone, but I know there's a lot of controversy with Ye and stuff, but he is very famous. There's others, Mr. Beast is pretty number one YouTuber in the world. There's others, what I'll say about celebrities, bro, is or just successful people or athletes is you never know who the real person is. Sometimes based on you watch them do their craft and you're a fan, or you see them sing or do their art and you're a fan, but the person, so I always go in just erasing any thought of what I think that person is, and I allow me to be surprised. Yeah.
Last question. 5 years from today.
5
years. What will AY Young be doing?
I will go dark. I maybe shouldn't have told you that. Crap. I don't know how many people might watch this. Dang it, we have a strategy.
We can delete that. We can delete that.
Yeah, here's the deal though. 5 years from now though, we'll be 2030.
Yes.
And you're right. And I would have released the biggest impact project of all time, and I'll say this: I will be somewhere in this world, away from the spotlight, driving forward action. That's what I will be doing. Maybe that's how I'll answer this one.
That's good. AY, man, I want to thank you so much, for coming on the podcast. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey, man. You're a legend. You're a legend, my guy.
Likewise. Bro.
Yeah, I have to echo that, and also shout out to Alex for your vision and making this podcast come to life. And we're all in it together. So it's a pleasure to work with you guys, and looking forward to it. And AY, thank you for your time and sharing your story.
Thank you guys, man. It was good. We got the world.
Absolutely, the people Planet Champion. You're looking at him, Mr. AY Young.
It's only right that he was our first guest.
Absolutely, number one.
Right. Like
we'll
that
circle back when we're at the top of this thing too.
We got to do another one.
Yeah,
we'll do another one.
Easy.
Absolutely. Okay. And we want to thank everyone out there for listening to the People and Planet Champions podcast.
Sports Pro to Alice Meacham.